Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Chall, and today Chall Chats the Premier League, where we're going to be doing a calendar review of one of the Premier League's top clubs. We're going to be doing Arsenal Football Club and reviewing their calendar year of 2023 to celebrate New Year's Eve. And celebrate the New Year period, really, in general. New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, wherever you're watching from, whenever you're watching from. But to help me, we need an Arsenal fan. And who better than man like Egal from the Football Terrace? I know him from the Football Terrace. You guys know him from the Football Terrace. We have Egal here on the show. Egal, great to see you, man. Happy New Year. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Just got up, getting myself ready for the weekend's games, and it should be a good week. Happy New Year's to everybody. Hopefully, everyone enjoys the New Year's fest in the festive period.
Fantastic stuff, mate. Happy New Year. So let's get started then straight away. Speaking about Arsenal's calendar year, let's wind the clock back to 2023, the 2022-23 season. It just slipped away from you, that title race. Just slipped away from you. In no short of a word, Arsenal ended up bottling it in the end. I think that's fair to say that Arsenal bottled it. But it just slipped away from you in the end. In the last couple of months, Man City tipped you to it by a few points. I mean, what was the reasoning behind the lack of mentality at the end of that title race? What made it slip away from you in the end?
I would just sum it down to simply if William Saliba or Tomiyasu were available come the business end of the season, we would be Premier League champions right now. I felt like Manchester City they just got it going, and guys like Kevin De Bruyne, Gundogan, Riyad Mahrez, the people who've been there, done that, and won leagues for them before, got them over the line. We People can talk about inexperience, people can talk about Mikel Arteta making mistakes, people can talk about all of those things, but the reality is, if we had just one of those two defenders, I think we see it out because our defense fell off massively in the final end of the season, and we were conceding goals for fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you think back to that 4-1 game against Manchester City, I mean, Haaland letting his hair down, scoring that goal. I mean, it felt like the final nail in the coffin for that title race, didn't it?
What you have to understand is they've been here, they've done it before numerous times. It was on us to do something that we haven't done before in a long time. So a lot of the pressure was on us. They were really playing with house money when they got rid of uh, Joao Cancelo in the January window. It kind of galvanized them because he seemed like he was causing them problems. So let's see if it based on the fact that we're challenging again this season. Last year wasn't a fluke, but we really did have a lot of luck and fortune in the first 50 points of the season, because after 20 games we were like flying in the league. We had, after 20 games, I think we picked up like around 50 something points out of 55 or something. It was crazy.
Absolutely. And we talk about this season now. Obviously, you are still in that title race. You're in there with Liverpool, City. I'd argue Aston Villa as well, with the way they've been progressed under Unai Emery. I rate Aston Villa very highly this season, along with Liverpool,
I
Arsenal,
don't
City.
think Aston Villa are in the title race. Let's be honest. We can talk about Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, but Aston Villa, it's similar to Leicester, similar to West Ham. They can have early season form. They can be in the mix, but just come the end of the season, they won't have the squad depth and they won't have the capabilities to be in it for the whole season.
So you fast forward to this season, and it feels like Arsenal have a lack of clinical edge up front. Obviously, Eddie Nketiah is the top scorer at the moment. And Gabriel Jesus, who should be, in my opinion, starting ahead of Nketiah week in, week out, barring injuries or fitness setbacks, hasn't been really cutting it this season in terms of the amount of goals he's been scoring, especially for a team that's supposed to be in a title race. What's the reasoning behind this lack of clinical edge this season? Is there a specific reason behind it?
I would simply sum it down to the fact that guys are not being clinical. Really and truly is down to them overthinking it, them needing an extra touch or an extra second before every play. We really need to just calm down and take our chances when they fall to us. We can't be overthinking it. We can't be taking extra touches. And Gabriel Jesus, what he did in the last game, kind of unthinkable. Where Bukayo Saka, he missed a one-on-one also. It's really just down to, it's I think it's getting to their heads that they've missed so many chances, and every time they get a chance, they're just not being themselves. So stop overthinking things and just take an extra second to get what you need to get done. I see that the question is who should Arsenal bring in during January, but the question is who will Arsenal actually bring in? Because who should we bring in and who will we bring in is two different questions. I
Mm.
don't think we will bring in all the people that we should be bringing in, because I don't think we're going to go in as big in this January as people think. Last year and in summer and the summer before that, we've had some heavy transfer business done at Arsenal Football Club for the last couple seasons, and it's starting to catch up to us when it comes to the realm of FFP. I don't think Arsenal are going to go as big this January transfer window unless we find some major club sales to help fund some of the transfers. So I know we're looking at Ivan Tony, Victor Osimhen, and all these other people in many other positions, but if we bring in a midfielder or a defender, that might be it. I don't think we're going to spend the 100 million or 80 million needed to bring in a striker in January.
Do you think that that could cost you though this season? Do you think that could cost you a title race again this year?
Potentially could be problematic, but I am not gonna. We'll get there when we get there. At this point, at this moment in time, Arteta and the club need to find internal solutions, and he spoke about internal solutions. So I'm hopeful that we can find some internal solutions.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. So going into Mikel Arteta, I mean, he's going into his fourth/fifth year now as manager. Phase 4 or 5, if we could talk about phases. For me, obviously, the positives, he's got you back in the Champions League, he's won you an FA Cup, he's got you in consecutive title races. But, and this is where I ask, I guess to some Arsenal fans, I call it a tough question. If Mikel Arteta doesn't progress from last season and wins you a trophy this season, what would you say is the situation with behind Mikel Arteta? Do you think that his time could be coming to an end? Would you give it an extra year? I mean, if he doesn't give you progression this season with a trophy out of this year, get you into the top two again by the end of the year, do you think Mikel Arteta deserves an extra year? Because I think if you're talking about a results-based game, you might look and say that he might not deserve to get an extra year, maybe.
No, simply because Mikel Arteta is his job is not at risk based on the fact that he literally put this team together and constructed it in that time that we're talking about. So we've only really been competitive for a year and a half. I think the club would look at Mikel Arteta's time here so far as semi-successful, with the fact that he's been able to get us competing from the level that we were already at. Now he needs to start to get over the line. But I think even if we were to not get over the line this season, they would still have faith in him for potentially for another year. If there was a catastrophic drop off or a slight regression to the level where you could say that the team is not competitive come the end of the season for the league title, that's where we might look at somebody else.
I get that. I get that, and I respect the fact that you back your manager. If Arteta doesn't give you that progression, is there any names off the top of your head you think would take over as manager, or would be a good option to take over as manager?
Is there a manager? That's not my job. I'm just a fan. When it comes to finding talent, to identifying the players, identifying the managers, that would be on the club to identify which manager to bring in if they sacked Arteta. But at this moment in time, Arteta's here. I'm not stressing about losing Arteta or anything like that. So I'm not worried about that right now, to be honest.
Uh,
If Arteta was to leave, that then the club would have to identify who they'd want to bring in. Personally, for me, I'm happy with Mikel Arteta. That's my manager, and I'm not really looking at other people to bring in at this moment in time.
Yeah, I can fully back that. Like I say, I respect the fact that you back your manager, and I can respect that as a neutral. So going forward into this season, then obviously, as you review the whole year as a whole, especially with what you've done so far this season, looking at the last 6 months of last season, How would you review the calendar year of 2023? I gave it a 6 out of 10 purely because of the fact that you've won the FA Cup, you've got back into the Champions League, but you've bottled two top four races in a row and a title race. I give it a 6 out of 10, being generous and not going halfway over 5. How would you rate the season out of 10?
Okay, I would just grade it into two. I would grade it into several parts. So if we're gonna grade last season, we didn't win the league, so you can't give it like a ridiculous grade. But based on the fact that we challenged and we were so good in the league and we were poor in the cup competitions, I would give it a 7. This season so far, if you include that, I think we sustained where we were last year. I'll give it a 7. But in order for us to start winning things, we need to have a conversation. I think we can win the Premier League. It's really comes down to it really comes down to two things. If you can find the if you can sort out the internal issues we currently have with our goal scoring, and figure that out.
Okay, that's fair. Obviously, you've got a couple of games coming up with Fulham in the league. You've got Liverpool at home in the FA Cup. I mean, do you think you can win one of those games? Do you think you can win both those games coming up at the start of the new year?
Bro, I'm looking to win the Liverpool home game in both competitions, but it's gonna be tough. I as long as we can win the league game and in the FA Cup, even if we get a draw, I think it goes to a second match, no? Or does it go to
I
penalty?
believe there might be replays. Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, so it's gonna be tough, but we need to try to get something from both games. My main thing is regardless what happens and the away fixture, when we're at home versus these top teams, that's where we have to pick up all 3 points. So I'll be looking to win both games if possible, but it's going to always be tough going up against a side like Liverpool, that's competing on all fronts to try to beat them in 2 games. I don't know. That's kind of like a cop out answer, but there you go.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. I think the home games in the league, the away games in the league, and the FA Cup are obviously a big priority along with the Champions League. So obviously, you want to try and win as many as possible. And I'm sure that if Arsenal do come at them in these games, then they'll definitely get the 3 points. Egal, thank you very much for coming on the show. Massively appreciated, mate. Thank you very much.
No worries, man. Appreciate it. You have yourself a great day.
And have a wonderful, happy new year, guys. To every single person watching this video, big shout out to Egal there for having him on the show. Thank you very much. I am the CHALL. Ta-ra for now.